ranging from heartwarming stories of selfless sacrifice to random acts of kindness that restore faith in humanity. Welcome to the list of the top 5 random acts of kindness. Number 5. Mrs. Vashaw, a high school head teacher in New Hampshire, had unfortunately been diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer, but she still put on a brave face and went into school and carried on with her life as normal. Then one day at school, the students gathered up and presented her with $8,000 towards the cost of her treatment. The head teacher was completely overwhelmed by the random gift and the small sacrifice all the students had made. See, the students knew about it all along and were supposed to be going on a class outing. But instead of going, they all decided to give the money for their trip to the teacher instead. The students said their head teacher is completely selfless, and that made them want to be selfless too. Mrs. Vashaw will be taking leave for her cancer treatment, but said it was a beautiful experience as an educator, as she worked so hard to try and help cultivate kids who care. She was extremely proud of her students for being the embodiment of all that she taught. The students have said that this was only the beginning, and that they'll continue to raise funds for their beloved head teacher. Number 4. A woman named Kayla Lane was working as a waitress at the Westside Cafe in Fort Worth when she overheard a distraught couple discussing the recent loss of their baby daughter. The couple, named Debbie and Sean, had no idea she overheard and asked for the bill. Kayla instead brought them their receipt, as she had already paid the bill herself out of her own money. She didn't even want a tip and told the couple that the restaurant would cover it, even though that was a little white lie. Kayla had also covered that as well. The couple was so overjoyed that a stranger could do something so beautiful for them in their time of deep sadness. It turns out that Kayla has a history with random acts of kindness and has previously covered bills for soldiers, police officers and firemen. She said she doesn't want any recognition and only wants the satisfaction of being able to help. Number 3. A young lady named Dominique had just finished her night out and realised she had lost her bank card and couldn't pay for a taxi home. A homeless man named Robbie saw her situation and offered her £3, the only money he had in the world, which he gladly gave away in return for knowing Dominique would get home safely. Robbie had been homeless for 7 months and was finding it very difficult to get a job due to having no address. Dominique woke up the next morning and was so touched that someone with so little could give away his very last penny to help her, so she decided to repay his kindness. She set up a GoFundMe page for Robbie in the hope of raising £500. Turns out it went viral and eventually raised over £30,000. But there was one small problem: Robbie was nowhere to be seen. Dominique spent 4 nights driving around Preston, UK and asking people if they'd seen Robbie, and it turns out that Robbie was known as a local Samaritan and had been known to return wallets and give his clothes to cold passers-by. She eventually found Robbie and gave him the money, and he was so happy that he could eventually reclaim his life. Dominique thinks that Robbie may have just restored her faith in humanity. Number 2. 38-year-old Californian Elvis Summers happened upon a 60-year-old homeless person named Irene McGee. He discovered she was literally sleeping on the streets without as much as a cardboard box beneath her. After chatting to her a few times, he also discovered she lost her husband in 2004 and could no longer afford the house they shared in Los Angeles. Summers struck up a friendship with Mrs. McGee, and she often visited to collect his recycling so she could exchange it for money. Mr. Summers said he could barely afford to pay his own bills, but he couldn't bear watching Irene sleep in the dirt, where everybody walks past enjoying their lives and going home to warm showers. He felt compelled to help her and sprung into action. He visited the hardware store and bought some tools and some wood, all so he could give Irene her very own home. He worked relentlessly for 5 days until his creation was finished. He had spent over $500 to make Irene a place she could call home. He found Irene sitting in the street and brought her to his home so he could present her with her very own home. She was so unbelievably happy with her new gift and completely overwhelmed with this act of kindness. Elvis said it was more important than the couple of bills which he's sure he could pay later and catch up on, and that we as humans are always so busy and petty that we can't stop for just 1 minute to help someone in need. Number 1. Cara Grace Duggan wanted to buy a second-hand smoothie maker for her mother, who had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer the previous year. Her mum had been suffering with nausea due to the cancer, so she thought it would be a great way to get nutrition into her. Cara specifically needed the 900 watt version, so she could also add the supplements that would be grinded into the juices, but she couldn't afford the £130 price tag of a new one. She found an ad for a second-hand NutriBullet smoothie maker on Gumtree and proceeded to contact the seller. She asked if they could post it from London to Belfast. She also explained that it was to help with her mother's cancer treatment by helping to easily consume nutrients and supplements. The heartwarming response she got back left her overwhelmed. The seller said they were giving it to her for free and that they were also covering the postage. She then received a second message from the seller, saying they had just bought her a brand new one and it was available to pick up instantly at a local store in Belfast. Kara, close to tears, replied with "Thank you, why are you so kind?" To which she received, "Don't say thanks to me, in fact thank you for giving me this opportunity." Kara cried when she picked up the NutriBullet due to the kindness she had received from someone she had never even met. And that brings my list of the top 5 random acts of kindness to an end. I jolly well hoped you liked it, and as always, thank you for watching.